Elena Vasquez looked out at the massive space station floating before their ship. Concordia was bigger than any city on Earth. Its metal wall stretched for miles in every direction. Lights twinkled across its surface like stars. This was the home of the Galactic Council, the group that ruled most of the galaxy. "First time seeing it?" asked Captain Roberts, the pilot of their human ship. "Yes," Elena said. "It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time." Elena was Earth's top diplomat. She had spent 10 years learning about alien cultures and languages. Today was the most important day in human history. The Galactic Council would decide if humans could join their group of civilizations. The ship docked at a small port on the station. Elena stepped out with her team of 5 other humans. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet. Alien workers moved cargo containers with their many arms or tentacles. Some floated in the air. Others walked on multiple legs. A tall, thin alien approached them. Its skin was blue and smooth like glass. "I am Guide Zerion," it said in perfect English. "The Council will see you now." They followed Zerion through long hallways. The walls showed pictures of different alien worlds. Elena saw cities floating in clouds, underwater palaces, and forests made of crystal. Each picture represented a different species in the Council. "How many species are in the Council?" Elena asked. 12 founding races," Zerion replied. "Each represents thousands of years of wisdom and peace." They reached a huge round room with 12 platforms arranged in a circle. Each platform held different alien representatives. Elena had studied them all, but seeing them in person was still shocking. The Zephyrians looked like glowing clouds of light in the shape of people. They spoke without moving their mouths, their voices echoing in everyone's minds. The crystalline collective appeared as walking gems, their bodies made of living rock that sparkled with inner light. The Korthak sat on their platform like giant warriors, covered in dark armor with 4 arms each. "Humans of Earth," spoke a voice that filled the room. It came from the center, where a floating sphere of energy pulsed with each word. "You have requested membership in our council." "State your case," Elena stepped forward. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. "Honored council members, humanity offers our friendship and our skills. We are young compared to your ancient civilizations, but we are eager to learn and contribute to galactic peace." A Zephyrian's light grew brighter. "We have studied your species for 50 of your years. You wage constant war among yourselves. Your emotions are wild and dangerous. How can such chaos exist in our ordered galaxy?" "We have conflicts, yes," Elena admitted. "But we also have great capacity for growth and change. Our wars have taught us the value of peace. Our emotions drive us to protect those we love and fight for justice." The crystalline representative spoke with a voice like grinding stone. "Your technology is primitive. You burn fossil fuels and split atoms. Your computers are barely more advanced than counting devices. What could you possibly offer us?" Elena's teammate, Dr. Sarah Chen, stepped forward. "Our technology may be simple, but our minds are creative. We solve problems in new ways. We adapt quickly, given time and knowledge. We could contribute innovations you haven't imagined." A deep laugh rumbled from the Korthak platform. Admiral Thexvar, their military leader, stood up on his 4 legs. "Humans are warriors, but weak ones. Your soldiers fight with chemical weapons and metal bullets, children's toys compared to our energy weapons. Yet you are more violent than any species we know. You kill for resources, for ideas, for the color of your skin." Elena felt anger rise in her chest, but she controlled it. "We fight, yes, but we also make peace. We learn from our mistakes. Every war teaches us that cooperation is better than conflict. We have begun to unite our world. Given the chance, we would do the same for the galaxy." The council members talked among themselves in languages Elena couldn't understand. Lights flashed between the Zephyrians. The crystalline beings played musical notes on their bodies. The Korthak warriors spoke in harsh, barking sounds. After an hour, the central voice spoke again. "We have reached our decision. Humanity will not be granted membership in the Galactic Council." Elena's heart sank, but the voice continued. "Furthermore, humans are declared a dangerous species. You are forbidden from leaving your solar system. Any human ship found beyond the orbit of your outermost planet will be destroyed immediately. This judgment is final." The room fell silent. Elena stared in shock. "You're exiling us? Trapping us in our own system? It is for the good of the galaxy," the Zephyrian said. "Your violent nature would spread like a disease. Better to contain you now before you can cause harm. We studied your history. added the crystalline being. In 5,000 years, you have never known true peace. War follows you like a shadow. The galaxy is safer without you. Admiral Thexvar nodded his massive head. Perhaps in 1,000 years you will learn wisdom. Until then, stay in your cage. Elena felt rage burning inside her, but she kept her voice calm. This is a mistake. You judge us by our past, not our potential. You fear what you don't understand. The judgment is made, the central voice said. Your ship will be escorted to the edge of Council space. Remember our warning. Any violation will result in the destruction of your vessel and all aboard. Elena looked around the room at the 12 races that ruled the galaxy. Their faces showed no emotion, no doubt about their decision. To them, humanity was just a problem to be contained. You'll regret this, Elena said quietly. Not because we'll attack you or cause trouble. You'll regret it because you're throwing away the chance to know us, to learn from us, to grow with us. The Zephyrian's light flickered. Empty threats from a primitive species. You will stagnate in your isolation. Within a few centuries, you will likely destroy yourselves. It is the way of violent races. Elena smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. We'll see about that. The humans were escorted back to their ship by armed guards. The journey to the edge of Council space took 3 days. Elena spent the time writing her report for Earth's leaders. She chose her words carefully, knowing they would shape humanity's response to this insult. When they reached the boundary, a Korthak warship appeared on their screens. It was massive, bristling with weapons. Human vessel, came Admiral Thexvar's voice over the radio. You are now leaving Council space. Do not return. This is your only warning. Elena activated the communicator. Admiral, I want you to remember this moment. Remember my words. Humanity will not forget how we were treated today. Thexvar's laugh echoed through the ship.
Threats from insects?
Return to your little world, human. Play with your primitive toys. The galaxy belongs to your betters. The human ship crossed the invisible line that marked the edge of Council space. Behind them, the Korthak warship turned away, its job done. Ahead lay the long journey home to Earth. Elena stood at the window watching the stars. Her reflection showed a woman in her 40s with gray starting to show in her black hair. She looked tired but determined. So what now? Asked Captain Roberts. Elena turned away from the window. Now we go home and tell Earth what happened. Then we show the galaxy what humans can really do when we set our minds to it. She walked to the communications console and began recording a message for Earth's leaders. This is Ambassador Vasquez. The Council has rejected our application for membership. They have exiled us from galactic civilization. But this is not the end of our story. It's just the beginning. The ship continued toward home, carrying news that would change everything. Behind them, the Council continued their ancient routines, confident they had solved the human problem. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. 25 years had passed since the Council's rejection. Earth had changed in ways the alien rulers could never have imagined. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her laboratory, watching the final test of humanity's greatest achievement. The quantum fold drive hummed with power, bending space around the test ship like folding a piece of paper. In seconds, the vessel jumped 50 light-years away and back again. It works, she whispered, then louder to her team. It works. The laboratory erupted in cheers. After decades of research, humans had created their own faster-than-light travel. They no longer needed the Council's hyperspace beacons or permission to travel between stars. Sarah was older now, her black hair completely gray, but her eyes still sparkled with curiosity. She had dedicated her life to this moment. The Council thought human technology was primitive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Across the solar system, Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the ESS Endeavour, humanity's first deep space warship. Unlike the bulky Council vessels he had studied, human ships were sleek and efficient. They looked like metal dolphins swimming through space. Final systems check, Marcus ordered. His crew moved with practiced precision. These weren't the scared diplomats who had begged for Council membership. These were humans who had been forged by rejection into something stronger. All systems green, Admiral, reported his tactical officer. Quantum fold drive is ready. Weapons systems are operational. AI assistant area is online. Marcus nodded. The ship's artificial intelligence was another breakthrough the Council would never expect. While alien civilizations feared thinking machines, humans had learned to work with them as partners. Area. Plot a course for the Kepler system, Marcus said. Course plotted. Admiral, replied the AI in a warm female voice. Estimated travel time 6 hours. Council patrol probability 0.3%. The Endeavour jumped into quantum-fold space, leaving Earth behind. Marcus felt a mixture of excitement and determination. Today, humanity would plant its first secret colony beyond the solar system. The Kepler system had 3 planets suitable for human life. The Council had ignored it because it was too far from their trade routes. Perfect for humanity's purposes. When they arrived, Marcus found they weren't alone. A small ship drifted near the second planet. It wasn't human, but it wasn't Council either. The vessel looked like a metal shell covered in slime. Unknown ship, this is Admiral Stone of the Earth Space Force. Please identify yourself. The response came in broken English. We are Simmery. Our ship is broken. We die soon. Marcus looked at his tactical officer. Council protocols would have demanded identification, background checks, and permission from superior officers before helping unknown aliens. But humans weren't the Council. Prepare the rescue team, Marcus ordered. Bring them aboard. The Simmerai looked like giant slugs, but they were clearly intelligent. They wore simple clothes and carried tools. Their leader, who called himself Glinth, explained their situation through tears. We mine crystals for Council. Ship broke during transport. Council says we not important enough for rescue. We wait here to die. Marcus felt anger at the Council's cruelty, but also opportunity. Would you like to work with us instead? As equals, not slaves, Glinth's eyes widened. You treat Simmery as equals? Not mining animals? We treat everyone as equals, Marcus said. That's the human way. This became the first test of what humans called the Partnership Protocol. Instead of enslaving or ignoring other species, humans offered them choices. Join as equals, stay independent with mutual defense agreements, or be left alone entirely. The Simari chose to join. They had natural abilities that amazed the humans. They could process rare minerals with their bodies, turning raw ore into pure metals. In return, humans offered them technology, protection, and most importantly, respect. The first human colony was built with Simari help. New Geneva became a model for human expansion. Clean cities, advanced technology, and multiple species working together as equals. It was everything the Council wasn't. News of humanity's success spread through secret channels. Dr. Chen's communication network used quantum encryption that Council technology couldn't detect. Soon, other oppressed species heard about the human approach. The aquatic depths were fish-like beings forced to mine underwater worlds for the Council. They sent secret messages asking for human help. The nomadic fleets were space traders overtaxed by Council regulations. They began smuggling human technology to hidden colonies. Elena Vasquez, now in her 70s but still sharp, led diplomatic missions to these species. She had learned something important from the Council's rejection. Respect couldn't be begged for. It had to be earned. We don't want to conquer anyone, she told each new species they met. We want to grow together, to learn from each other, to build something better than what exists now. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been ignored or enslaved by the Council flocked to join what humans called the Soul Confederation. Each brought their own skills and knowledge. The insectoid hive builders could construct massive structures in days. The energy being spark dancers could power entire cities. The plant-like grove keepers could terraform dead worlds into gardens. But the most important convert was unexpected. A young Korthak warrior named Vextel had been captured during a border skirmish. Instead of being executed, he was treated according to human customs. Given food, shelter, medical care, and respect, why do you not kill me? Vextel asked Marcus during one of their conversations. I am your enemy. You're not my enemy, Marcus replied. You're a soldier following orders just like I am. The real enemy is the system that made us fight each other instead of working together. Vextel was confused. In Korthak culture, strength meant dominance, but humans showed a different kind of strength. They were strong enough to show mercy, strong enough to forgive, strong enough to offer their enemies a better way. When Vextel was released, he carried human ideas back to his people. Not all Korthak listened, but some did. Young warriors began questioning why their society was built on castes and conquest instead of cooperation. By the 25th year of exile, humanity had established 57 hidden colonies. The Soul Confederation included 23 species and controlled hundreds of worlds. More importantly, they had built something new, a civilization based on choice rather than force. Sarah Chen, now 75, stood in her new laboratory on New Geneva. Through the window, she could see human children playing with young Samari, aquatic, and hive builder kids. They laughed together, sharing toys and games, creating friendships that cross species lines. The quantum fold network is complete, her assistant reported. All colonies are connected. Communication is instant across the Confederation. Sarah smiled. The Council thought they had contained humanity by cutting them off from galactic civilization. Instead, they had forced humans to build something better. A network of free worlds where species chose their own destinies. Marcus, now an old soldier but still commanding the Endeavor, received reports from across Confederation space. New colonies were being established every month. More species were asking to join. The hidden empire was becoming too big to stay hidden much longer. Admiral, his communications officer, called out. We're receiving a distress signal from the edge of the Kepler system. It's a Council patrol ship, Marcus sighed. This was the moment he had both dreaded and expected. The secret was about to be revealed. Their ship is damaged, the officer continued. Looks like engine failure. They're requesting assistance. Marcus thought about Vextol and the lesson of mercy. Prepare a rescue team. We help everyone who needs it. That's what makes us different from them. But he also knew this rescue would change everything. Once the Council patrol reported back, the galaxy would learn that humanity hadn't stayed in their cage. They had built something the Council had never seen before, a civilization that grew through friendship instead of fear. The great game was about to begin. The Council chamber on Concordia was in chaos. For the first time in 3 centuries, the 12 ruling species were shouting at each other instead of speaking in measured tones. Admiral Thexvar stood before the assembly, his forearms spread wide in frustration. I tell you, they have violated the Exile. The patrol ship found not one colony, but dozens. The humans have spread across the outer rim like a plague. The Zephyrian representative pulsed with angry red light. Impossible. We have sensors throughout that region. No unauthorized ships have been detected. Then your sensors are useless, Thexvar growled. The patrol captain saw them with his own eyes. Human cities on 3 worlds. Ships we don't recognize. Technology that shouldn't exist. The crystalline collective leader rang like a broken bell. You must be mistaken. Human technology is primitive. They cannot have developed faster than light travel without our knowledge. Thexvar slammed his fist on his platform. See for yourselves. He activated a holographic display showing the patrol ship's recordings. The Council fell silent as they watched images of New Geneva. Clean cities stretched across green valleys. Ships moved between massive space stations. Humans worked alongside species the Council had never seen before. Most shocking of all, the technology was clearly advanced. More advanced than anything humans should have possessed. This is from 6 months ago, Thexvar continued. Since then, my scouts have found evidence of 50 more colonies. The humans haven't just violated their exile. They've built an empire. The chamber erupted again. Some council members demanded immediate military action. Others insisted the recordings must be fake. A few suggested opening diplomatic talks. The central voice cut through the noise. Order. We must respond to this threat methodically. Admiral Thexvar, you will take a fleet to this New Geneva and destroy it. Make an example that will remind the galaxy why exile orders must be obeyed. Thexvar bowed his head. It will be done. I request 200 ships for this mission. Granted. Crush this rebellion before it spreads. 3 weeks later, Admiral Thexvar's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Geneva system. He had brought the largest Council military force assembled in 3 centuries. 200 warships, each capable of destroying a small moon. Surely this would be enough to handle some escaped humans. Admiral, his sensor officer reported. I'm detecting 37 human vessels in orbit around the 3rd planet. They appear to be waiting for us. Thexvar studied the display. The human ships were smaller than his vessels, sleeker in design. They hung in space like a pack of predators, neither advancing nor retreating. Open a channel to their flagship, he ordered. The screen showed an elderly human in a dark blue uniform. Thexvar recognized him from intelligence files. Admiral Marcus Stone, the human who had been present at their original exile. Admiral Stone, Thexvar said with satisfaction, you have violated the terms of your species' exile. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Marcus smiled, and Thexvar was surprised to see no fear in the human's eyes. Admiral Thexvar, I remember you from our last meeting. You laughed at us then. Called us insects. You are insects. Dangerous ones, but insects nonetheless. This ends now. Yes, Marcus agreed. It does end now. But not the way you think. Before Thexavar could respond, alarms began sounding throughout his fleet. His sensor officer's voice was filled with panic. Admiral! New contacts appearing throughout the system. Hundreds of them! The holographic display filled with red dots as ships decloaked all around the Council fleet. Human vessels, but also others Thexavar had never seen. Samari bioships that looked like living creatures. Aquatic vessels shaped like swimming rays. Sleek nomadic fleet ships built for speed. You brought 200 ships, Marcus said calmly. We have 300. And, Admiral, our technology isn't what you remember, Thexavar snarled. Numbers mean nothing. Council ships are superior to anything you primitives can build. All ships open fire. The battle that followed changed galactic history. Council energy beams lanced out toward human ships, but something impossible happened. The human vessel's armor seemed to learn from each hit, adapting to become more resistant. Shots that should have destroyed them were absorbed or deflected. The humans fired back with weapons Thexavar had never seen, missiles that phased through shields as if they weren't there, energy beams that split into multiple targeting streams. Most disturbing of all, the human ships seemed to coordinate perfectly, moving as one mind. How are they doing this? Thexavar demanded. His tactical officer stammered. Sir, their ships appear to be controlled by artificial intelligence. The reaction time is too fast for organic crews. Impossible. No one has mastered AI combat systems. But the evidence was clear. While Council ships relied on organic crews with normal reaction times, human vessels responded instantly to threats. Their AI systems learned from every exchange, becoming more effective with each passing minute. The tide of battle turned quickly. Council ships found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. But instead of destroying them, the human fleet was doing something strange. They were disabling Council vessels and boarding them. Admiral, his communications officer called out. The humans are hailing us again. Marcus reappeared on screen. Behind him, Thexavar could see the battle through the human ship's windows. Council vessels drifted helplessly as human boarding parties moved between them. This is your chance to surrender, Marcus said. Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are disabled. But we're not going to kill your crews. Thexavar stared in confusion. What? We're not monsters, Admiral. We're taking your people prisoner, yes, but they'll be treated well. Fed, housed, given medical care, allowed to communicate with their families. That's the human way. This made no sense to Thexavar. In Korthak culture, defeated enemies were either executed or enslaved. The idea of comfortable imprisonment was alien to him. Why? He asked. Marcus considered the question seriously. Because we remember being judged unfairly. We remember being called violent primitives. We won't become the thing you accused us of being. The battle ended with most of the Council fleet captured or disabled. Thexavar's own flagship was boarded by human soldiers who moved with military precision, but showed no cruelty to his crew. He found himself in a comfortable cell with a soft bed, regular meals, and access to communication systems. The human guard, a young woman with kind eyes, brought him food and asked about his health. She treated him with more respect than some of his own officers had shown their subordinates. Days passed. Thexavar found himself in conversations with his captors about philosophy, honor, and the nature of strength. The humans challenged everything he believed about power and civilization. Strength isn't about dominating others, explained Dr. Sarah Chen during one visit. Real strength is lifting others up, building instead of destroying, creating instead of conquering. Meanwhile, news of the battle spread across the galaxy through human quantum communication networks. Every species under Council rule saw the recordings. The mighty Council fleet, defeated by the primitive humans they had exiled. But more than military victory, they saw something else. They saw captured Council soldiers being treated with dignity. They saw human mercy in the face of overwhelming victory. They saw a different way of wielding power. On dozens of worlds, oppressed species began to ask questions. If humans could defeat the Council fleet, why were they still serving their alien masters? If humans offered equality instead of servitude, why not join them? The revolution had begun, not with conquest, but with an example of what civilization could become. Marcus stood on his bridge, watching the captured Council ships. In a few hours, he would release the prisoners and send them home with a message for their leaders. The galaxy was changing and the old order was crumbling. Send a message to all human colonies, he ordered. Tell them the secret is out. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. The news of the Council fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the crystal cities of the Crystalline Collective, young beings gathered around communication screens watching human broadcasts in secret. On the floating platforms of the Zephyrian worlds, energy beings whispered about concepts they had never heard before: equality, freedom, choice. Elena Vasquez, now 80 years old but still sharp, stood before the galactic communication array on New Geneva. Her hair was completely white, and her face was lined with decades of experience. But her voice was strong as she began humanity's first official broadcast to the galaxy. People of all species, in all corners of space, we greet you as friends, she began. I am Elena Vasquez, speaking for the Free Galactic Alliance. We are not your conquerors. We are not your new masters. We are your invitation to freedom. Across Council space, beings stopped their work to listen. The broadcast was unlike anything they had ever heard. No commands, no threats, no demands for obedience. Just a simple message: you have choices. For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by fear, Elena continued. Fear of change, fear of differences, fear of new ideas. The Council tells you this is order, but it is not. True order comes from cooperation, not domination. True strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. In the underwater cities of the aquatic depths, the fish-like beings gathered in great schools to discuss Elena's words. They had spent centuries mining hostile ocean worlds for the Council, told it was their duty as a lesser species. Now they heard that someone valued them as equals. The response was immediate. The aquatic depths sent a secret message to New Geneva. We want to join your alliance. We declare independence from Council rule. The Council's reaction was swift and brutal. Korthak warships surrounded the aquatic homeworld, demanding immediate surrender. But something unexpected happened. The planet's defense grid, using technology smuggled in by human allies, activated shields the Korthak had never seen before. This is Admiral Thexvar to Aquatic Defense Command, came the transmission. Stand down immediately or face the consequences. The reply came from Admiral Fluxara, an aquatic military leader who had been inspired by human examples of courage. Admiral Thexvar, we formally withdraw from the Galactic Council. We choose freedom, Thexvar was confused. Since his capture and release by the humans, he had been questioning many things about Korthak society. The humans had treated him with honor even in defeat. They had shown mercy when they could have shown cruelty. It had shaken his faith in the Council's methods. Admiral Fluxara, he said slowly, you are making a mistake. The Council provides order and stability. Without us, there will be chaos. We prefer chaos to slavery, Fluxara replied. The humans taught us that freedom is worth fighting for. Before Thexvar could respond, human ships appeared throughout the system. Not attacking, not threatening, just present. A reminder that the aquatic depths were no longer alone. Marcus Stone's voice came over the communication channel. Admiral Thexvar, you know us now. We keep our promises. The aquatic depths have asked for our protection, and we will provide it. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The nomadic fleets, tired of Council taxes and restrictions, declared their independence and began openly trading with human colonies. The hive builders, who had been forced to construct Council monuments for centuries, announced they would only build what they chose to build. Most shocking of all, junior officers in the Korthak military began to rebel. Young warriors who had heard Thexvar's reports about human honor started questioning their own society's rigid caste system. Why should some Korthak be born to rule while others were born to serve? Vextul, the young Korthak who had been Marcus's prisoner years earlier, now led a group of reform-minded warriors. They called themselves the Honor Guard, and they believed that true strength came from protecting the weak, not exploiting them. The Council tried to suppress the rebellions with force, but they faced a problem they had never encountered before. The rebels had human support. Advanced weapons, better shields, AI-assisted tactics. More importantly, they had hope. Elena toured rebel worlds personally, speaking to massive crowds of different species. Her message was always the same. We don't want to conquer you. We want to grow alongside you. On the crystalline homeworld, she addressed a gathering of young gems who sparkled with excitement. Your elders tell you that change is dangerous, she said. But without change, there is no growth. Without growth, there is only slow death. The crystalline youth resonated with musical notes of agreement. They had been taught that their crystalline perfection meant they should never change, never evolve. But the humans showed them that adaptation was strength, not weakness. The Council's response grew more desperate. They declared humanity a galactic plague and began mobilizing for total war. But their words rang hollow. Every species had seen the Battle of New Geneva. They had seen human mercy and victory. They had seen a different way to live. The Council's authority cracked further when young Zephyrians began to question their energy-being elders. "You call human emotions chaotic," said a bright young Zephyrian named Fluxion. "But look at what those emotions create. Art, music, love, sacrifice for others. We have order, but what do we have that is beautiful?" Even within the Council itself, doubt grew. Some members began secret communications with human diplomats, not to surrender but to understand. What made this young species so effective? How had they turned exile into empire in just 25 years? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Chen, now in her 80s but still brilliant, published a research paper that was broadcast across the galaxy. It was titled, "The Strength of Diversity: Why Cooperation Beats Domination." "The Council rules through fear and hierarchy," she wrote. "Each species has its role, its place, its limitations. But humans learned something different. When you treat people as equals, when you value their differences instead of suppressing them, you don't get chaos. You get innovation." She gave examples. Human agriculture improved dramatically when they learned from plant-like species. Human engineering advanced through cooperation with insectoid builders. Human military tactics became unbeatable when they incorporated the wisdom of dozens of different species. The Council's greatest weakness, she concluded, is that they waste the potential of their own people. They see diversity as a problem to be managed instead of a resource to be treasured. The paper was passed secretly through Council space, translated into hundreds of languages. Young beings of every species read it and began to see their own societies in a new light. By the end of the year, the Free Galactic Alliance included over 200 worlds and 47 species. More importantly, it had become something the Council could never destroy. An idea. The idea that beings could choose their own destiny. That strength came from cooperation, not conquest. That the future belonged to those who built bridges, not walls. Elena stood once again before the communication array, preparing for another broadcast. This time her message would be different. The Alliance was strong enough now to make an offer the Council couldn't ignore. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, "we extend an invitation to the Council itself, not to surrender, not to submit, but to join us in building something better. A galaxy where every voice matters, where every species contributes, where strength is measured not by how many you rule, but by how many you serve." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "The choice is yours. Continue the old ways of fear and division, or step forward into a future of hope and unity. We will be waiting for your answer." The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy to consider a question that would change everything. What kind of future did they want to build? 5 years after Elena's final broadcast, the galaxy looked very different. The massive Concordia station still floated in space, but it was no longer the center of galactic power. That honor now belonged to Earth itself, where representatives from hundreds of species gathered for the first galactic assembly. Elena sat in her office overlooking the assembly building, watching delegates arrive for another day of discussions. At 85, she moved slowly, but her mind remained sharp. Through her window, she could see Korthak warriors walking peacefully alongside Zephyrian energy beings, while crystalline youth shared technical knowledge with human engineers. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Captain Maria Santos entered, wearing the blue uniform of the Alliance Navy. She was young, confident, and carried herself with the easy grace of someone who had never known a galaxy where humans were considered inferior. "Ambassador, the Council's final delegation has arrived," Maria reported. "Admiral Thexvar is requesting a meeting with you before tomorrow's ceremony." Elena smiled. "Send him in. After all these years, I think we have things to discuss." Thexvar entered the room, but he looked different from the proud warrior who had once laughed at human weakness. His armor was simpler, less ornate. His forearms moved with less aggressive certainty. Most notably, his eyes held something that had never been there before: humility. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said, offering a formal bow. I come not as a conqueror but as someone seeking to understand. Please sit. Elena gestured to a chair designed for Korthak physiology. We have much to talk about. Thexvar settled into the chair, his massive frame still imposing but no longer threatening. I have spent 5 years trying to understand what happened, how your species accomplished what seemed impossible, how you turned our greatest strength against us. We didn't turn anything against you, Elena replied gently. We simply offered an alternative. People chose what they preferred, but how? The Council ruled for millennia. Our system was stable, ordered, predictable. Elena poured herself tea, a human ritual that had become popular throughout the Alliance. Your system was stable because it never changed. But the galaxy changed around you. New species, new ideas, new possibilities. You tried to force everything to fit your old patterns instead of adapting to new realities. Thexvar considered her words. Since his capture and release years ago, he had seen human mercy firsthand. He had watched his own people question traditions they had never thought to examine. Some Korthak had joined the Alliance and found purpose in protection rather than domination. My nephew Vextal speaks highly of human methods, he admitted. He says that serving others gives him more honor than ruling them ever did. Honor comes from our choices, Elena agreed. The Council taught that some were born to rule and others to serve. We believe that everyone should have the chance to choose their own path. The next day, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. For the first time in galactic history, every species would have an equal voice in their shared future. Elena took the podium as the opening speaker. Her voice, though aged, carried clearly through the hall into billions watching across space. Today we do something that has never been done before, she began. We gather not as rulers and subjects, not as masters and servants, but as equals. Each species, each world, each individual has value. Each has something to contribute. In the audience, beings of dozens of species listened intently. Crystalline representatives chimed in harmony. Aquatic delegates made gentle splashing sounds of approval. Even some Zephyrians pulsed with warmer, more accepting light than their elders had ever shown. The Council's way was not wrong because it was evil, Elena continued. It was wrong because it was incomplete. They saw the galaxy as a problem to be controlled instead of a community to be nurtured. They feared change instead of embracing it. Admiral Thexvar stood to address the assembly. His words were broadcast throughout former council space, where millions of his people watched in amazement. The Korthak Empire formally requests membership in the Free Galactic Alliance, he announced. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. We offer our strength in service of peace. The hall erupted in approval. Species that had feared Korthak warriors for centuries now welcomed them as allies. It was a moment that proved Elena's greatest belief, that understanding could overcome any prejudice. The Crystalline Collective's youth representative spoke next. We dissolve our old rigid structures and embrace change as a path to growth. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. One by one, representatives stood to announce their commitment to the new galactic order. Even some of the old council members, though not all, chose to join rather than remain isolated. Captain Maria Santos watched from the military observers section, proud to represent the service that had grown from humanity's determination to prove themselves. The Alliance Navy was different from any military force the galaxy had known. Their ships were crewed by mixed species, their tactics emphasized protection over destruction, and their greatest weapon was the example they set. After the ceremony, Elena walked through the gardens surrounding the assembly building. The paths were lined with plants from hundreds of worlds, each contributing to a beauty that no single species could have created alone. She stopped at a memorial wall listing the names of humans who had died during the early years of exile, when the struggle to survive had claimed many lives. You would be proud, she whispered to their memory. We didn't become what they said we were. We became what we chose to be. Maria joined her at the memorial. Ambassador, the Exploration Council has approved the next deep space mission. We're sending mixed crews to survey the galactic edge, looking for new species who might want to join us. Elena nodded. Make sure they understand our principles. We offer friendship, not conquest. We share knowledge, not demands. We build bridges, not walls. Always, Maria promised. As the sun set over Earth, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them here. From the humiliation of exile to the triumph of acceptance. From a species considered too dangerous for civilization to the builders of a new galactic community. But more than victory, they had achieved something else. They had proven that different didn't mean dangerous, that diversity was strength, that the galaxy was big enough for everyone to find their place. A year later, Elena passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by friends from a dozen different species. Her funeral was attended by representatives from every world in the Alliance. Even former enemies came to pay respects to the woman who had shown them a better way. At the service, Admiral Thexvar spoke about honor. Dr. Sarah Chen's successor talked about the power of knowledge. Representatives from the aquatic depths sang underwater songs of farewell. The crystalline youth played musical tributes that rang like bells across the ceremony. But the most fitting tribute came from Elena's granddaughter, Sofia Chen Vasquez, who had inherited her grandmother's gift for diplomacy. Elena Vasquez believed that the measure of a civilization is not how much it conquers, but how much it creates. Not how many it rules, but how many it lifts up. Today, her legacy lives in every friendship between species, every act of cooperation, every choice to build instead of destroy. Sophia now led the diplomatic corps, carrying on her grandmother's work. When new species were discovered at the galaxy's edge, she was there to greet them with the same message Elena had perfected. We don't want to rule you or judge you. We want to grow together among the stars. The galaxy Elena left behind was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still misunderstandings, still those who preferred the old ways of domination and fear. But for the first time in galactic history, there was also hope. Hope that different species could work together. Hope that strength could be used to protect rather than oppress. Hope that the future could be better than the past. And in that hope, humanity had found its greatest victory, not the defeat of their enemies, but the transformation of enemies into friends.